Okay, good afternoon. Excuse me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the author Andrew Snorton, and you are tuned in to the Fast 15. This is our weekly live chat that we do on Wednesdays. We typically try to focus on starting at about 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we know how technology can be. Sometimes technology is moving smooth as silk. Other times, smooth as sandpaper. So today is one of those smooth as silk times. So we're on a little bit earlier than normal. But again, we appreciate you guys taking time out each and every Wednesday for us to pause, check up, check in, enjoy a short reading that'll make you think and reflect, and then close out on a positive note with a few, simple announcements and things along those lines. To best stay connected with me, make sure to add me on Facebook at the page Author Andrew Snorton. So Author Andrew Snorton. Make sure to add me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Author A Snorton. If you have questions or things along those lines, you may email me at authorsnorton@gmail.com. And website wise, go to the business website of asnortonccs.com and then just click on the menu for the author information. It gives a synopsis of the different work that's been done to date. And if you look at the photos with Barnes & Noble and Amazon, if you click on those, you can go ahead and order whatever book, audio book, things along those lines. And also it's an embedded link for the landing page or the more author specific info. So we try to make it, as flexible as we can, as accessible as we can. And again, excuse me, as I said before, thank you to everybody that's been tuning in. We did our first live chat April 1st of 2020. So this is year 2 of just doing the weekly checkup, check in, take on, a topic or two. Sometimes it's kind of close to home, but just to get you to think and reflect and see what could be our next steps. So that's pretty much the focus of our live chat. As we always do with each and every live chat, we want to make sure to acknowledge people that are not doing well, even with things kind of gradually turning around with the pandemic due to the vaccines and people being as consistent as possible with the best practices regarding, washing your hands, your mask, your social distance, things of that nature. We know that there's people that are still having some problems, whether it's physical health wise, mental health wise. Sometimes it could be job. Sometimes it could be that thing that you've mapped out and planned out isn't going according to plan, things of that nature. And we always want to take time to acknowledge people that are going through some things. We always think about when we're going through stuff, but just because we're not going through something doesn't mean that someone else isn't going through something. So if that sounds like you or someone that's going through, a trial, a tribulation, an adversity, a storm, we are here to encourage you to keep your head up. It's okay to take time to pause and just breathe. And it's all right to feel what you're feeling. If you're feeling angry, hurt, whatever, you have every right to feel that way. We also ask that you don't stay stuck there because we know the longer that you're there, the more challenging it is to work your way out of it. So if whatever situation you're going through, if it calls for you to get formal help, psychologist, counselor, things along those lines, if it also means that you're not quite ready for the formal help, but you need the informal help, someone just to talk with, to vent. So if there's a trusted family member, friend, loved one that can at least help you get the process going of figuring out what these moving parts are, and based on these moving parts and what's available, what makes sense to do. Hey, shouts to Patricia Johnson, doing some great and amazing things. Y'all make sure to add her at Patricia Johnson _ on Instagram, doing some really awesome work. Deep in the heart of Texas, if memory serves me correct. But if not deep in the heart of Texas, she's doing some great work and some great things, so check her out. But like I said, for folks that are going through those adverse times, do what you can to weather the storm, do what you can to pause and regroup, do what you can to, quote, construct as constructively as possible, get it out of your system, and go ahead and identify the formal or informal help you might need in order to pull through. And then when you pull through, don't forget other people that might be struggling with something, just in principle. For those of us that are doing well, let's not forget our brothers and sisters who are going through tough times. But by the same token, let's make sure to take time to celebrate our victories. Small or big, a victory is a victory. That victory might have been you got out of bed on time. I mean, seriously, that victory might have been you crossed the street correctly. That victory is you might not have burned that plate. We've all been guilty overcooking something. It's like, oh my goodness, what happened? Um, and victories can come in different sizes, shapes, and forms. To my fellow authors out there, keep writing. Our voices and narratives are needed. So whether you do hardcover, paperback, audiobook, keep writing because people need to hear from you. For those who are doing new things, you've picked up a new skill, you are going someplace you haven't been before, you are rediscovering the gifts and talents that you have. You're tapping into new skill sets and talents that are helping you grow professionally, helping you grow community-wise, helping you grow personally. Definitely make sure to celebrate those because you of all people know what you've been led through and had to work through in order to get there. So don't go overboard with the celebration now, but it's okay to acknowledge, celebrate, feed off the positive energy, and then keep it moving, as positive and powerful, direction as possible. We know that there's always more in store. So let's celebrate the now for the positives that are taking place, and let's feed off of those to go ahead and continue moving forward. So those are just our usual opening words. Now, today's talk is going to be a little bit different as we usually pull from one of the books or one of the audio books. And we also, things along those lines. But today, given one of the hot topics of the day, I want to make sure that we really acknowledge some stuff. And people are definitely aware of the Derek Chauvin trial that's going on, as unfortunately, about this time last year is when a number of people saw what took place with I'm sorry, because I'm just trying to make sure I get this screen up. So just bear with me for a moment. I think I have the share screen working. I hope I do. If not, this is going to be okay. It's just, how technology does where it kind of times out. But the piece that I'm going to read is actually an op-ed that was done in May of last year. And as a lot of people remember, this time last year was a very tense time given the cases of police using force on unarmed citizens. Obviously, whenever you're using force on someone unarmed, that draws some serious question and concern. And this, if I can drag down the screen, okay, great. It is letting me drag down the screen. Hold on. If you guys on Instagram can't see it, so you're just going to have to hear it, but you guys on Facebook can. So the op-ed I'm going to read was written last year, and it was more to ask questions as to what we can do. And I know with the trial going on, with what just happened in the suburban Minneapolis area, with another killing, I know that when I see and talk with people, there are a number of people that are tired, fatigued, exhausted, and are like, we can't keep going through this over and over. And what I want to share is an op-ed that was done last year, and it's on our well, it's definitely press and media, but definitely on asnortonccs.com. And if you go on the web, it's asnortonccs.com/blog. And this was an op-ed that was done last year, and it's titled "Do Differently. Maybe You Should Have Back in 1619." So this is an op-ed, and I'm going to read it verbatim and just kind of share some of the things that were going on last year. There might be some parallel things going on this year and some things for us to think about and do. So here it goes. This week, referring to May of last year, is definitely full of its challenges, and not just the pandemic or related individual changes in our day-to-day and more. There are ample reminders of these, which I hope all who are reading are able to work through in a swift, sound, and safe a manner as possible. This week is a reminder of an even bigger societal challenge, which sadly is not only existent since the landing at Jamestown, Virginia in 1619 with a cargo of 20 people of color or Black people or people of African descent, but embedded in the mentality of this country in Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which declares any person who is not free would be counted as 3/5 of a free individual for the purposes of determining congressional representation. Yes, embedded and ingrained that every 5 Black people be counted as 3 people, which is clearly considered certain people as less than human. And there's a link where you can find out more. And while the 13th Amendment eliminates slavery, there's one thing it didn't fully eliminate, and that is the 245 years approximately of the mindset and legal standing to justify treating said population as less than human. Not only is this evident in matters including but not limited to the Jim Crow segregation laws, the meeting of the minds which some would say are menial and moronic at best in Pulaski, Tennessee, and other societal areas of concern, but even more troublesome, incorporated in the paradigm of those who are supposed to serve and protect. Really? Yes, really. For this brief look at law enforcement, an added focus is given to the recent high-profile cases of citizens who are unarmed and victims of lethal force. Treson Reed, Breonna Taylor, and earlier this week, the graphically disturbing video of the arrest and death of George Floyd. To get a point of reference and context, let's consider the known data. Even in instances, this is the first bullet point, even in instances of non-lethal force, Blacks, African Americans are more likely than any other ethnic group to experience this during arrest. And there's data that helps support that. This includes traffic and street stops. Number 2, while the total numbers show that those of Caucasian background are the majority of deaths, relative to the overall percentage of the population, Black or African Americans are disproportionately represented in arrest data. So based on the estimates of the based on July 1st, 2019, if you go on the US Census, it'll show the breakdown of what the population looks like and the demographics of people who are victims. With a standard protocol for law enforcement to assess the risk to themselves and the immediate community, if the person is unarmed, as all 3 are in their respective cases, they are to use verbal commands, and if force has to be used, it has to be non-lethal. Well, it makes sense. If you're unarmed, can't use lethal force. Once the suspect is cuffed, then it's a matter of proceeding with booking and related matters as the threat is no longer imminent. The problem is the protocol clearly is not followed in the aforementioned cases. Reed is shot and killed. Taylor is shot and killed on a no-knock warrant where the person of interest per the warrant is already in police custody. So why were they there in the first place is a question that needs to be answered. And Floyd is pinned to the street with Officer Derek Chauvin pressing on his knee for nearly 10 minutes. The fact that Floyd pleads that he can't breathe is eerily reminiscent of the police-inflicted death of Eric Garner. And click there to find out more. Clearly, these cases should be open and shut based on the video evidence. However, data shows that even in cases where it is documented law enforcement is in the wrong, there may be a 1% chance of indictment. Yes, 1%. And just because there's an indictment, it doesn't mean it will go to trial, let alone sentencing. It can lead people to wonder why this is the case. And it also leads to some questions to consider and get the conversation going. So, first question, is there a need to change the current police paradigm? I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not telling you yes, I'm not telling you no, but based on some of the moving parts, it's a question you might want to ask. Is there a need to change the training and qualifications for those in law enforcement? Again, not saying yes, not saying no, just something for you to think about. Is there a need to make legal changes to ensure when the evidence data shows wrongdoing, there's an improved likelihood of perpetrators going through the indictment trial sentencing cycle? Again, currently it's a 1% chance of indictment. If you feel that's good, then keep things the way they are. But if you don't, and if you've heard the doctrine of qualified immunity, it might be something to think about. Are changes needed on the local level, state level, federal level? Are there other causative factors to consider? In other words, are there other things that we haven't accounted for that we might want to think about? What levels of consistent engagement are needed in order to better address these areas of concern? There are some clear challenges and disturbances with law enforcement and community engagement. And keep in mind, related disconnects and disproportionate situations are also noticeable in the Spanish-speaking community, as they are disproportionately represented based on their overall population relative to the population of those who are unarmed victims of force. And keep in mind, we're not even mentioning a segment of the community who feels they can take matters into their own hands, as in the case of the murder of unarmed jogger Ahmaud Arbery. So click there to find out more about that case. Avoiding the issue, despite the challenging nature of the conversation, is not going to help matters. So even though it's tough to talk about, we can't not talk about it. When people speak to the issue and use their platform in a logical, rational manner to even have the discussion and see what can be done, too many are dismissive. This is true. Hate to say it. Likewise, when the conversation gets stifled, in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a riot is the language of the unheard. As is evident in the response of people in Minneapolis, although mainstream media is not showing that all of those taking things to that level are of different backgrounds. So, in other words, people are thinking that the people rioting are exclusively one demographic, and that is not true. There are some people that are there to kind of go ahead and misinterpret and twist that narrative. So, where do we go from here? How do we better identify and address an ongoing societal problem? Maybe if things had been done a little bit differently in 1619. So that's the op-ed that was written May of last year, given the cases that we saw of unarmed citizens being victimized by use of force, and in this case, lethal use of force. And the focus is on drawing attention to stats that we know and actions that we've seen are quite evident. And it's just raising the question, if these things are going on and if these are a problem, what are things that can be done? And I know that there are people out there that are like, oh my goodness, I'm fed up, I'm tired, and I get that. But we know not doing anything is not going to solve it. That's just like if I'm hungry and my stomach is growling, me sitting on my behind is not going to help me get some food, Or if I'm trying to cross the street, if I don't move my left and my right foot, or if I don't pedal my bike, or if I don't cut the motor on for my motorized, transport, wheelchair, otherwise, I'm not going to be able to move. So what we were saying in that op-ed last year is that there are some challenges and there are some problems, and we have to be open to digging deeper and having very tough and very critical conversations. But guess what? That can be with anything. That job change, you might have to have a tough and critical conversation. If you decide to relocate, that's a tough and critical conversation. There are a bunch of tough and critical conversations that, quite frankly, we don't always feel like having. I don't always feel like having to talk about what's going on with law enforcement. By the same token, not talking about it is not going to help the problem. And also better directing where should we channel our energy. Should our energy be channeled into training only? That was one of the questions that was raised. Should it be on the legal end? Should it be on, other ends? Now, I'm just putting those out there. So those are things for you to think about. And again, whether you agree or disagree, that's your business. But we have to say that if we've identified an area of concern, not talking about it, not discussing it, not doing the appropriate analysis, not doing the appropriate meeting of the minds is not going to help. And I think all of us can agree to that. So the longer that we do not talk about this, the longer that, quote, we accept things as the way they are, you're going to see a repeat of these types of things happening over and over again. And if you are someone is tired of seeing that type of issue, then do your research, ask some questions, and identify where should your energy go. Should it go to communicating better with your lawmakers? Should it go with having stronger relationships with law enforcement and the community? Because we know at some level we have to have law enforcement, but we have to make sure that their enforcement is consistent across the board. As Friends and Associate pointed out, it doesn't make sense for someone who's black or brown and unarmed getting shot to death, and someone, I'll just go ahead and say it, someone Caucasian shoots up a whole city block and gets out without a scratch. There's something wrong there. Just some things to think about. So this wasn't necessarily to bring doom and gloom, but knowing that that's one of the things that people have talked about, I thought it was appropriate to kind of speak to one of the pieces that was done last year and just have you think, have you reflect, and how do we redirect our energies into getting at least closer to problem solving. We might not fully solve every problem, but we don't attempt, then we know what the outcome's going to be. So those are some things to think about, not only just for that issue, but really for any issue. So as we get ready to pivot and get ready to wind down our live chat, a couple of quick things. Make sure to tune in tonight, April 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to my full broadcast show, The Conversation Corner. That will air on the Status Network, the live TV channel, LIVE channel. You want to make sure to tune in on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, your key social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. Make sure you add Status Network as well as LYVE Live TV. For those of you who have room on your smart devices, add the app Status Network. And definitely go to the website statusnetwork.net. And when you see the big old pop-up box, fill in the fields for Conversation Corner, and you're good to go. I'm excited to have 3 guests that are doing some great things. We'll start off with the Alphas of Atlanta. A number of you are familiar with their Alpha Derby weekend. Obviously, we're not fully out the pandemic, so they're not doing the Alpha Derby weekend this year, but they're doing a great event called the Alphas of Atlanta Golf Open. If you're a golfer, all the golfing slots are filled, but if you have a business that wants to get exposure, you definitely have those opportunities. And for those of you 21 and older, on April 30th from 12 to 4 p.m., they're doing an afternoon networking event. So shouts to Brown Foreman, who will be providing the beverages, which is why you have to be 21 and older, but make sure to tune in tonight to find out more about it. Dante Muse, my fellow New Jerseyan, doing some great work across the board. Hold on just a moment. My fellow New Jerseyan, Dante Muse, doing some great work with his art gallery, accomplished author, business person, etc., is going to join us through Zoom. And I've got the pleasure of having author extraordinaire D.L. Collins coming on. He's doing great works with his book, his nonprofit business. So I'm really excited to have all 3 of those folks on. So please make sure to check out the full broadcast show tonight. For those of you in the Nashville, Tennessee area, make sure to get your tickets for the Music City Diamond Classic. That'll take place April 17th and 18th. It'll be a single game on the 17th at 3 p.m. Central Time, and then a double header on the 18th, meaning the first game will be at 1 p.m. Central Time, and then 30 minutes after the first game will be the second game. I'm really excited to do an in-stadium book signing, definitely on Saturday the 17th. That'll feature my book, Nothing Minor, which focuses on my 2019 coverage of minor league baseball. And I'll just be blunt, we're doing $20 gift packages, which will include the hardcover book, autographed photo, personalized book, and another personalized gift. And a portion of the proceeds will go to the host organization, Black College Sports Group 360. So we'll be doing a donation next week to them to support what they're doing with the series, what they're doing for their community service and outreach. And all of their classics are focusing on our HBCUs. So this weekend, if you or someone you know is a student, alum, or supporter of Lane College, as well as Tuskegee University, make sure to go ahead and support. It's great baseball being played. A great spotlight on our historically Black colleges and universities. So you definitely want to make sure to check them out. On Sunday, April 18th, join me virtually. I want to give shouts to the Stone Mountain Lithonia alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. My scheduled time will be 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to be a part of their virtual book fair. So during my talk while I'm in Nashville, I'll figure out how to talk about all the books and audio books. So it's going to be interesting. I'll be doing a signing and talking with them. But shouts to Dr. Fran Tabulous. You know who she is. Dr. Fran, awesome woman, awesome author and educator in her own right. So I want to give her a shout. And again, shouts to the women of the Stone Mountain Lithonia alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for having me, as well as other great authors, a part of their book fair. The book fair will be this Sunday, April 18th from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can find the info on my page. And if you tune in tonight, you'll see it as part of the commercial break. But my scheduled time is 3:15. So I hope that my earplugs and all that will work. Or there's one way to find out. So I'm excited about that. I want to give shouts to Cortez Mac TV, as the interview that I recorded with him is supposed to drop sometime this week. So when that comes out, check it out. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else going on. I think that's it for the time being. But again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's taken time to tune in, to support, to encourage, to motivate, to ask questions, things along those lines. Shouts to everybody who supported me book-wise, who supported me audio book-wise, television show, live chat, all the bookstores, all the book clubs. Just thank you all for giving me a chance. And I hope that the best way I can thank you all is for, fellow authors be able to come on and chat, come on the show, things that nature. Just like other people have allowed me to utilize their platforms, I'm praying and trusting that the best way I can say thank you is to do the same for other people who have some great stories, whether written or what they're doing, and help amplify them to the best of my ability. So thank you, each and every one of you. And yeah, so I think it's about time for me to wind down. I've got to make a stop today and take care of some moving parts. Even though I look good, I got to look better for television. So thank you guys for joining me. And I guess the message of the day is one of the things I said before. And this goes out to anybody out here, especially anyone who's going through a struggle. Whether slow or swift, movement is movement. So as long as you're moving, there's the potential for something good to happen. So you guys take good care, be safe, be encouraged. So to those of you on Facebook, I'm going to say peace, see you later. So we're going to shut the live stream off. So again, for those of you on Facebook, you all take care. And let's see, for those here on Instagram and Zoom, I want to thank you all for tuning in. You all take very good care, be safe, be encouraged, and I'll see you all real soon. Don't forget to tune in tonight. Don't forget Nashville. Check me out Saturday. Don't forget virtually check in Stone Mountain Lithonia alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta with their book fair. As I'll be on it. So I'm gonna see y'all soon. Oh, and shouts to Watch for the Hook. I got something for y'all tonight. So y'all take care. Be safe. Join me each and every Wednesday about 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Fast 15. Add me on Facebook at Author Andrew Snorton and Instagram at Author A Snorton. And add Author A Snorton on YouTube for full replays. We'll see you.